The sun has set, the last lights of Hanukkah have burned down, and it is Shabbat. Welcome. I'm Rabbi Jonathan Blake, joined tonight by cantor Amanda Kleinman and our wonderful musicians Pete Malinverni, Idan Santaus, who plays flute, and Jerome Morris on percussion. And we'd love for you to take an extra moment and wish one another Shabbat Shalom, and find somebody's hand or eyes that you haven't yet greeted tonight. So even if you have to get out of your seat, find someone to wish Shabbat Shalom. We have set out 115 candles to help our community remember the hostages who are still in Gaza. We've also dedicated one empty chair next to the flag of the State of Israel with a talit and the words, "Bring them home." We'd love for our community at this time to come up and kindle these blue candles. I have the sad and sacred responsibility to remove 3 of them. 3 hostages were accidentally killed by IDF forces today. I'm sure that will be a headline that you see if you haven't already. If you're moved to come up, there's a little switch on the underside of the blue candle. All you do is press it. It's electric. Please join us. is to commit to hope, even at times that seem hopeless. We should never forget that week in and week out, even through these awful almost 10 weeks that we, the Jewish people and our world have been forced to endure, we have had many causes for hope. Tomorrow morning, Jake Schwartz is going to be called forward to the Torah in celebration of Bar Mitzvah, and we'd love for Jake, whose parents are already up here, to come up with his sisters, Anna and Carrie, and help us kindle Shabbat lights.
Oh, hear my prayer, I sing to you. Be gracious to the ones I love, and bless them with goodness and mercy and peace. Oh, hear my prayer to you. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen. Let us light these lights and see the way to you, and let us say Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu le'adlik ner shel Shabbat.
Let us say Amen.
So Jake, to you and your family, thank you for kindling these lights. Thank you for reminding our community why we still feel hopeful even in dark times. And thank you for internalizing the light of Torah that you will share with our congregation tomorrow. Mazel tov to all of you, and Shabbat Shalom. Thank you.
Please join us now as we continue welcoming Shabbat together on page 138 as we continue with Lecha Dodi.
Shabbat.
146. Some of the words aren't in the book. Some of them are. Most of them are right here.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro mariv haravi bechokma poteach she'arim. God of creation, who makes the evening fall from light into darkness with the setting of the sun, you unfold the heavens with brilliant moon and stars and wrap our souls with peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro mariv haravi bechokma poteach she'arim. Baruch atah Adonai Ha'ma'ariv Aravi.
152.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך
והיו
לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Turn now to page 158. Join us as we offer Micha Mocha in a responsive melody.
Micha Mocha, Oelim Adonai. Micha Mocha, Nedor Kodesh, Norah, Tehilot,
Tehilot,
Oseh,
Oseh,
Feleh, Norah, Tehilot,
Tehilot,
Oseh,
Oseh,
Feleh,
Feleh,
Malchutecha Rahuvanecha, Okei Hayam Lifnei Moshe Miriam, Zeili, Zeili, Anu ve'ameru, Adonai,
Adonai,
Yimloch,
Yimloch,
Leolam,
Leolam,
Va'ed,
Va'ed,
Adonai,
Adonai,
Yimloch,
Yimloch,
Leolam,
Leolam,
Va'ed.
Va'ed.
ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
Prayers as old as our tradition have taken on new meaning since October 7th. Hashkivenu, bedtime prayer in antiquity that was later brought into the synagogue for communities to say together, is a way of acknowledging how unsafe we sometimes feel when the lights go out. Tonight is among the darkest nights of the year as we approach the winter solstice, the last candles of Hanukkah having burned down, the new moon just in the rearview mirror. Today being the third day of the month of Tevet, you'll see that the moon is but a tiny little sliver in the sky. Let our prayers be a beacon of light in the darkness. 160.
Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu leshalom, ve'hamidenu shomreinu lechayim, lechayim. Ashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu
164.
Open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה, אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מחכה חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו, לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומיתו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
We'll take the next few moments to pray silently. You may feel moved to pray along with the Siddur or just offer a prayer from the heart. If it's your custom to remain standing, please do. Otherwise, please feel invited to take your seats. I'd also love for some of the younger members of our congregation, if you can come up very quietly and complete the lighting of our candles that help us remember the hostages who are still in Gaza, we'd be very moved to have you come forward at this time. We pray silently. Shabbat Shalom. For the last, I think, 10 years, on the last Shabbat of the secular calendar year where I happen to be around, I will be away the next 2 Friday nights, I've made it my custom to present a sermon in PowerPoint called The Top 10 Overlooked Jewish Headlines of the Year. Now, I approached this project this year with a little bit of trepidation because of how ugly it has been, especially since October 7th, for the Jewish people. And I wondered to myself, would presenting top 10 overlooked headlines, which usually bring a little bit more lighthearted fare to the table, just be like putting lipstick on a pig? That's not my intention at all. It coexists, the difficult with the sweet. And so it would not be good if October 7th were remembered as the only headline for the Jewish people of 2023. I think that we have to take October 7th into broader consideration of who we are as a community, who we have been, where we are going. So with that in mind, I present to you the top 10 overlooked headlines of 2023, a totally unscientific list that I've compiled. And we do so on the Sabbath of Parshat Miketz, which is the kind of middle portion of the very long saga of Joseph and his brothers. It's the part where Joseph is going to be installed as the kind of vice pharaoh over all of Egypt. And I've actually selected a verse for our consideration to frame the project of looking at the news from the past year. So this is the passage from Genesis chapter 41, verses 32 and 33. As for Pharaoh, having had the same dream twice, it means that the matter has been determined by God and that God will soon carry it out. So the Parsha begins with Pharaoh disturbed by a dream that he has had, a recurring dream, as it were, with 2 sets of symbols encountering the same kind of activity. First, he dreams of ears of corn sprouting as he stands by the Nile, healthy and ripe and full. And then after the ears of corn that are healthy and ripe and full, a bunch of shriveled, yucky-looking ears of corn also sprout up and swallow up the healthy ears of corn. He falls back to sleep. He has another dream. This time, 7 cows come out of the Nile, full-bodied, plump, happy cows. And then 7 skinny, disgusting-looking cows also come out of the Nile and eat up the healthy cows. He's very troubled. He doesn't know what to do. None of his sorcerers in the court of Pharaoh are able to interpret it. And then he is reminded by one of his servants who had been helped in prison that there is a prisoner who's been languishing there for 2 years, a Hebrew named Joseph, whose particular talent is dream interpretation. So Joseph is given a nice bath and a shave, and he's taken out of his shackles and brought before the Pharaoh. He hears the dreams and he interprets, and he says, here's the deal. Egypt is going to experience 7 years of plenty, followed by 7 years of famine. And then he says both dreams mean the same thing, and we get to this verse. As for Pharaoh, having had the same dream twice, it means that the matter has been determined by God, and that God will soon carry it out. Sometimes when we hear that something terrible is happening, we need to prepare for it. Whenever this war is over, Israel will almost immediately go deeply into a period of investigation and soul-searching, trying to understand why they missed what Hamas had been so obviously planning for such a long time. Pharaoh, fortunately, when he hears this intelligence, knows that he has to act, he has to plan. And so he does the next verse. Accordingly, let Pharaoh find someone who's discerning and wise, whom you can set over the land of Egypt. Now, this is Joseph's advice, but Pharaoh looks at him in the face and says, you're the one for the job, my friend. And Joseph is appointed. Difficult circumstances require bold leadership. So with that in mind, a little bit of a preamble to acknowledge where we are in Jewish time and a look back over the year. I went non-chronologically. I really just picked headlines that spoke to me and that I think make a kind of tapestry of meaning from where we've been over this last year, above and beyond October 7th. Way back in May, the Biden-Harris administration released the first ever U.S. national strategy to counter anti-Semitism, which now, of course, seems prescient. Does anyone recognize the figure? Who's that, Joel? That is Ambassador Deborah Lipstadt, a distinguished professor and author. She was at Emory and has been appointed the ambassador, the special envoy to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. I had the distinct honor, I think, Michelle, you were there at Washington, D.C. on November 14th. We heard Ambassador Lipstadt address a crowd nearly 300,000 people strong. I thought she was one of the most powerful speeches of the day. And boy, are we lucky that she's in that office now, when anti-Semitism has risen more than fourfold just since October 7th alone. Of hate crimes that have been identified in America in the last 10 weeks, 60% have targeted Jewish people. So we need a strong voice in the highest reaches of government to be our forceful advocate. Number 9, the Nobel Prizes having been awarded around the same time that the war was just breaking out, many of us may have missed the headlines, but there are always Jews winning Nobel Prizes. You may have noticed this. A little bit out of proportion to our numbers in the world. In this case, Drew Weissman, a Jewish scientist who identified the technology that made possible the mRNA vaccines against COVID-19, has won the 2023 Nobel Prize in Medicine. Here he is, pictured with his partner, Katalin Karikó, who's a Hungarian-born researcher at the University of Pennsylvania. Something good came out of Penn this year, my friends. Okay. Next. I talked about this on the High Holy Days. Before October 7th, 2023 was already a year for the history books for the Jewish people. Massive pro-democracy protests roiled the country for 40 weeks. Literally from the time that the newly installed governmental coalition under the direction of Bibi Netanyahu and his Likud party, which actually became by far the most moderate bloc in his coalition, flanked on all sides by even more extreme nationalist and ultra-religious parties. When they proposed overhauling the Supreme Court and the judiciary, the people of Israel took to the streets. When all was said and done, millions of Israelis marched for democracy, and hundreds of thousands were marching week in and week out. I have many friends in Israel, and they told me that this was their Saturday night date night. They would go to the streets of Tel Aviv or Jerusalem or Haifa or many of the smaller cities in Israel, protesting for democracy peacefully but forcefully. So there's an image of just one small little sliver of Israeli people who were standing up in the streets demanding that the government come to its senses. I thought this picture was very cute. Maybe you missed it. Israel celebrated 75 years of statehood. We were fortunate on November 4th to have our friend and colleague, Rabbi Cantor Angela Buchdahl, speak to our congregation, and in her remarks, she acknowledged that Israel would not be the first or only country to experience a massive challenge in its 8th decade. And would it matter? Would we still find the strength to care? Of the many things that did come out of October 7th was, I believe, a fundamental reset of the relationship between Israeli Jewry and world Jewry. Of the 15.3 million Jewish people living in the world today, about 8 million and change live in Israel. Fewer than 7 million live in the United States, 6.5, and about 1 million everywhere else. So the landscape of Jewish demography globally looks like what's called an ellipse. It's a perimeter drawn around two foci or 2 points, the American Jewish community and the Israeli Jewish community. And if we learn nothing else this year, let it be that we need each other, not just to celebrate milestones that come around every 25 years or so, but every single day. One of the outcomes of the protest movement was this, which I thought was fascinating and easily overlooked. There was this past year in Israel a huge surge in demand for non-Orthodox life cycle officiation. Weddings, bar and bat mitzvahs, conversions, even restaurants wanting to be certified as kosher by authorities who may be Orthodox but who are not part of the ultra-Orthodox Rabbanut, which is the officially recognized rabbinical establishment that has jurisdiction in Israel over things like who's a Jew, what does it mean to convert to Judaism, what is required, who can preside over weddings and funerals, all of the things, by the way, that make Cantor Kleinman and me ineligible to solemnize weddings or conduct funerals in a way that the state of Israel recognizes because the ultra-Orthodox Rabbanut is empowered. And so when you have this surge in demand, it's very interesting to see a response again to some of the, I think, more extreme characters in the governing coalition prior to the war. The people were not silent this year. Okay, something a little fun. The 3 biggest movies of the year, both in box office take and in critical acclaim. Barbenheimer, that's the mashup of Oppenheimer and Barbie. And the fellow to the left is Bradley Cooper doing his very best Lenny impersonation, Maestro, which I think just came out or is coming. Is it tonight? Like tonight's the theatrical release? Already up for Golden Globe Awards, though. So together, these 3 films, each of which highlights a Jewish character. Yes, Barbie is Jewish. You probably didn't know this. She doesn't look it. Her creator was Jewish, though, right? Oppenheimer, not very observant, totally Jewish, though. So we have a nuclear physicist, the most famous piece of plastic in the history of the world, and one of the greatest composers, conductors, and musicians who ever lived, all celebrating Jewish heritage in these special ways on the silver screen. Okay, next. Why leave it at the movies? Let's go to Broadway, where Parade wins the Tony for Best Revival of a Musical, and, by the way, Best Director, Michael Arden. How many of you saw Parade on Broadway? Okay, bunch of folks in the congregation. Jason Robert Brown, Jewish lyricist, songwriter, composer, incredible Broadway figure. He performed by 2 Jewish actors who played the leads, Michaela Diamond to the left and Ben Platt to the right. He of Dear Evan Hansen fame and others. Parade tells the real-life story of Leo Frank, a Jewish man falsely accused of murdering a 13-year-old girl 110 years ago. Although eventually he was exonerated, Frank was lynched in prison before he could be released. Really important story, heartbreakingly told on the Broadway stage. Did any of you see a video featuring 19 Major League Baseball players standing up for Israel and condemning Hamas? Came out just weeks after the war began, back in October, actually, where a whole bunch of players, both current and former, were featured. It was actually a video produced by Israel to get, at World Series season, the message out in front of a very wide audience, chiefly a non-Jewish audience, that these players stand with Israel. And I have a kind of like a complementary picture here, which tells a similar story. We're looking in the striped jersey that says Israel, the fellow on the right. I have like a little, this guy here. That's Ian Kinsler. He is the Jewish executive of the Texas Rangers, and he threw out the first pitch in Game 3 of the American League Championship. When I went to Israel in June and July of this year, we had many high-level conversations with actually Ambassador Tom Nides, with a lot of diplomats, with a lot of military and ballistics experts, people who are journalists, people who are part of the democracy movement, members of the Knesset, both in the government and in the opposition. There was one conversation that everyone at those levels of involvement in how Israel operates wanted to talk about, and that was Saudi Arabia. Because in June and July, significant efforts were being made, not very much behind the scenes. It was actually leaking into the press every single day, that Israel and the Saudis were coming closer than ever to normalizing relations. It's no secret that among the many strategic aims of Hamas in their hideous attack of October 7th, one chief aim was to derail this process, which would have marginalized the Palestinians yet further and would have made it impossible to make the Israeli-Palestinian conflict the center of all things going on in the Middle East. If you want to credit Hamas with something they've done since October 7th or on October 7th that they can declare victory about, that's one of them, having derailed this very important process of Israel normalizing relationships with its neighbors and returning focus to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, which is exactly what they wanted to happen. But I have here the three figures who had been in these barely covert talks. Mohammed bin Salman, or MBS on the left, Joe Biden, of course, and Bibi Netanyahu. And actually, as late as September 23rd, think about that, that's exactly 2 weeks before the attacks, Netanyahu publicly announced that progress had been made in normalizing relations with the Saudis, but had not met the Saudis' demand that the Palestinians would also be given what they want as part of this process. Okay, the number one headline. I did return, you heard, even though I said we weren't going to talk much about October 7th, talked all around October 7th. And the last one, I returned to it, but maybe an image you didn't get to see as Hanukkah concluded just tonight. This is a Chanukiah that was erected by IDF forces in Gaza. It is made out of fragments of rockets fired by Hamas into Israel and other military detritus that was collected and assembled into a very large makeshift Hanukkah menorah. May the lights continue to burn, a symbol that even in the darkest times and the darkest places on earth, Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel yet lives and lives to fight another day. Shabbat Shalom, my friends. We turn now to page 678. Please rise for Hatikvah. (371), you'll find words for our prayer of healing. This time we would like to invite members of our congregation who are praying for a loved one's recovery from illness or spiritual strengthening to feel invited that you may rise at this time and share names as my eyes meet yours. To these names, our community adds Binyamin Ben Reuven, Jennifer Leventhal, Jeff Millman, Malka Gila Batbina, Emerson Lorenzoni, Jake Cooper and Addison Cohen, Beth Dworetsky, Stephen Gilberg, Yochanan Ben Sipora, Judy Balsam, Ilana Bat Shmuel, Leah Bat Nina Bat Binyamin, Matthew Atwood, Anthony and Elizabeth Dankner, Deborah Kapnick, Chava Bat Sarah, Eliyahu Chaim Ben Fredel, Sheila Freed, Jenny Kaufman, Zachary Morant, and Ronald Keeves. Please join us in our prayer.
let us say,
Amen.
Amen. Vishemerach imotenu mikor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Please rise for Aleinu, page 586.
Aleinu leshabeach ladon hakol, latei gidula leotzer bereshit, shelo asanu kegoyei haratzot, velo samanu kemishpechot adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, vanachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, Lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Bayom hahu, yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Stuart, I feel bad. She's right there. There's totally room. Shabbat Shalom. In Judaism, candles remind us of the love that continues to glow even after the flame of a life has been extinguished. Our hearts are heavy with our losses at this time of year. We'd like to acknowledge the mourners in our community by asking them to rise in the following order. If you are within a week of having laid to rest your loved one, would you please rise at this time? Will those who are within Shaloshim, 30 days of remembrance for a loved one, please rise? And if you are within a first year of mourning for a loved one, please rise. Those who are observing a yahrzeit tonight, please rise at this time. We'll ask the entire congregation to stand with you in sympathy and in fellowship and in solidarity together as we mourn the more than 1,200 Israelis killed on October 7th, those members of the IDF who have laid down their lives in defense of their country, and those innocent non-combatants, both Israeli and Palestinian and international citizens, who have been killed since the outbreak of war. At this time, we also name the hostages accidentally killed today: Alon Shamriz, Yotam Chaim, Samer Talalka. Zichronam livracha, let their memories be a blessing. Together with the names that we now offer, members of our WRT extended family taken in the last 4 weeks: Marion Plattis, mother of Seth, Jeffrey, and Ira Plattis; Jacob Nogi, father of Jennifer Nogi; Alan Greenberg, father of Caroline Nussbaum; Robert Fischel, father of Rabbi Eliana Fischel; Yuda Berger, father of Ilona Pekoik; Samuel Jacob Landau, father of David Landau; Phyllis Rand, mother of Sherry Kaplan, Lois Schilling, and Fred Wadler; Brooke Cohen, daughter of Stephanie and Abraham Peltz, sister of Matthew and Jesse Peltz, mother of Cooper, Jake, and Addison Cohen; Toby Cohen, son of Ira Cohen, brother of Philip Cohen, and father of Cooper, Jake, and Addison; Peter Young, uncle of Keely Mann, and Joan Youngman, sister of Linda Feldman. Together with those whose anniversaries of their passing are commemorated tonight: Chewy Armendariz, Howard Axelrod, Donald Blum, Naomi Blumenthal, Robert Blumenthal, Donald Birch, Abraham Cohen, Hannah B. Coyne, Esther Cooperman, Shirley Del Borgo, Belle Levinson-Eiton, Charles Field, Lorraine Finkelstein, Alan J. Friedman, Arnold Gould, Milton Haber, Dina Hubble, Paul Jacobs, Dorothy Clayman, Aaron Koch, Harry Kreshover, Gertrude Lefkowitz, Evelyn Levin, Mendel Magidman, Dan May, Gertrude Manel, Sidney Mittler, Philip Panfield, Shirley Posner, Thea Rabina, Arthur Raisfeld, Frank Rosenzweig, Maurice Rubinoff, Dorothy Ty, Pauline Schildkraut, Florence Schumann, Joyce Schertzer, Barney Silverman, Elizabeth Sinsheimer, Max Stein, Judith Stemmerman, Irene Teller, Beatrice Underweiser, Jerome Wagner, Charles S. Warshaw, Benjamin Weiss, and Harriet Zwickel. If you have names to add to our commemoration, or if I have inadvertently mispronounced your name or a loved one's name, please offer your names at this time. Tehi zichronam baruch. Let their memories provide blessing as we bless the name of the author of life through the words of the Mourner's Kaddish on page 598. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agalau v'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehei shemei rabbah mevarach le'alam alamei amaya, yiparach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yitalev v'yithalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen.
Invite us to remain standing just for one additional moment for a few brief announcements. Tomorrow morning, we will celebrate Shabbat in a few different ways. Torah study will be held in the Sifriya and over Zoom at 9 a.m., and sharing Shabbat will take place in the CJL at 9 a.m., and at 10 a.m., the congregation will rejoice with Jake Schwartz and his family, and we wish Jake and all of the Schwartz family a heartfelt mazel tov. On Sunday morning at 11:15 till 11:45 till 1:15, Cantor Kleinman and our wonderful musician friend Oren Nyman on guitar will present the 5th session of our short-form class on the history of Zionism and the conflict between Israel and the Palestinians, and that will be told through incredible music that really narrates a story of Zionism and the kind of the psyche of Israel through its period of conflict. Anything else to say?
I think you captured it perfectly.
Can't
Thank
wait.
you.
Great. So let's bless together. We'll raise our voices and we'll raise our Kiddush cup and join as we sing.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lemaaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zecher litziat Mitzrayim, ki banu v'acharta, v'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodesh v'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat. You'd think we have the Kiddush down after all these
You
years.
would think. I'd love to invite to the bima our congregant Gail Loeb to help us break bread and make motzi as we experience the blessings of our congregation. Cantor and I are so delighted to add to the recognition that the Men of Reformed Judaism of our congregation tonight offers Gail for her absolutely incredible, unceasing work to bring the lights of our faith and our tradition out into the public square. By starting a project a couple of years ago called the Menorah Project, Gail initiated a Westchester Jewish community-wide effort to make sure that Hanukkah symbols like Hanukkah menorahs and decorations for Hanukkah were proudly displayed alongside other non-Jewish holiday decorations. And how many, do we know how many stores took part this year?
Well, there were several hundred menorahs given out throughout the county.
Mazel tov. So, thank you. So help us break bread, and then after services, the MRJ has a little something extra for you that we'll give you in the lobby. Friends, please put your arm around somebody close to you and let's bless together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat shalom.